What's good, healing family? Praying all's well with y'all today on this beautiful, almost spring, sunny day. I think it's probably like 60 some degrees on Madden, Connecticut. But I hope y'all doing well. That if y'all still doing the winter, hopefully you're able to have some of the snow to melt. As y'all can see in the background, there's still some snow, a lot of sunlight. But nonetheless, I do pray that everyone's doing well and staying safe and healthy. So today's conversation is more focused on doing a self audit. And the reason why I pointed out the snow and also the sun, we're still transitioning from the winter season into the spring season, which is spring equinox. And something that I learned is that, the new year doesn't really start at January 1st. The new year, now, as I'm starting to learn, starts around the spring equinox. So it's a lot of things that we tend to carry when it comes to the fall, when it comes to the winter, and then transitioning into the spring. Because I don't know about y'all, I feel like I activate the best around the springtime and also the summer. And so, as human beings, when it comes to nature, we are somewhat intertwined around the same process. It's something that I learned, I think it's probably like last year. Mentally I knew about it, but my supervisor had pointed this out. He was at some type of store, he had a conversation with someone, and he was picking out this shrub or some type of plant that was already dead. And he was looking at it, and it was someone that was young, right around my age, 20, maybe 30 years old. And they were saying, why do you want to pick up this dead plant? And there's nothing else to it. And around this time frame was around the fall. And so he brought down this whole and type of analogy, and it's something that makes sense. And so if you think about it, throughout the fall time, the leaves fall. Throughout the winter, the leaves are buried, and then we have the snow. Spring, everything is starting to move forward, and in the summer, you flourish. So when it comes to the fall, there's a lot of things that we tend to deal with that needs to shed. And so all the old habits, all the old ways of being, all the old people, places, and things that we keep ourselves surrounded in, those things start to trickle down a little bit more. And then in wintertime, again, as you can see, there's still snow on the ground. It's already settled. It's settled. You have to deal with it. You have to sit within that type of process. And then slowly it starts to melt away. But I don't know if y'all can see concrete. Starting to see some concrete, no more snow. And it's the same type of process when it comes to us as human beings. There's a lot of things that we need to get rid of. It falls off. In the winter, we sit with that. We meditate. We pray. We might even fast away from it and then create those different type of changes. And then when it comes to the spring equinox, we're able to flourish because we were able to do the hard work by sitting down with ourselves, delving deep into the areas that need to be fixed, spending our time with God, giving it to God, and moving forward. So my question to you all, like, what are some things that you're still holding on that needs to shed, that needs to melt away, just like the snow in the background? Is it a partner or a friend, habits when it comes to technology, food, different types of things that we shouldn't be delving into, or the way how we think and see ourselves in the mirror? So I'm just curious, like, what are some things that you want to work on when it comes to shifting a few things? And don't mind the truck in the background. I'm in the parking lot, so hopefully it might pass by. Yeah, they pass by. But anyways, what are some things that you need to get rid of as you start to see things melting away from your life? For me, I know throughout the wintertime, it was my way of thinking, way of being. And also, I was overeating a lot during the wintertime. Because you already know, you already cooped up inside the house. You got food in the fridge, everything stocked up. And it's just more of a easier access to gain food. And so when I would just sometimes either just going on YouTube, scrolling, eating food unconsciously, and then also just the thoughts and habits that I was presenting myself or creating within my own environment. And so I was grateful. I talked about it previously. I think the fall transition to the winter, I did a fast, and that helped out when it comes to the more form of expressing gratitude. And then the winter time, excuse me, just sitting down with self, sitting with God, and really just again shedding and getting rid of all those other layers that doesn't need to be. And so it can be challenging, it can be hard, but I know those things were key that need to be removed in order for me to move forward into my next. And so a couple of questions I want to ask for y'all. Let's see. No, mind me, I'm on my phone because I can't remember everything. What are some habits that you plan on leaving behind in this previous season? Who, what, where no longer serves you? What did you do well throughout this winter season? Because I realized, I'm always just talking about getting rid of things, getting rid of this, getting rid of that. But we need to highlight those key components of things that we did well, day to day, month to month, or whatever it may be in that given season. And then where is God in the midst of it? Learning just through within the different types of books within the Bible, through different sermons and having different conversations, realizing that where do you see God in the midst of everything? You might be going through a pruning or isolation, or you might just be reconverting to a new version of self. And some things might be pinpointed to you daily, and we might not pay attention to it. That could be God's grace and mercy. That can just be a lot of favor around that aspect as well. But where do you think God is in the midst of all of that? And then another thing as well, again, don't mind me, I'm on my phone. If you don't know where to start, again, me personally, what I would suggest is just sitting down with self. You can sit down in silence, trying to figure out what are some thoughts that come to mind. Dang, that truck loud. See what thoughts come to mind at first, and also just realizing, all right, cool. This is something I might need to write down, either pray and meditate on, talk to God, and also just writing some things down on what we can do to unpack all those things that may come about. And for me, and I'm still dealing with it, is imposter syndrome. Don't caution, the wind is strong out here, yo. Imposter syndrome, and that's something that I dealt with and I'm still dealing with. Moving in different spaces, being the youngest, sometimes feel like I'm the most uneducated, undeserving, but just knowing that all of that is through God's favor. Now I'm in different places now, and I do thank God for that to be an opportunity. But I'm just curious to hear from you all point of view. What are some things that you're dealing with internally that needs to shed, that needs to be removed in order for you to again be who God has called you to be? So it doing a tough audit, it's a lot of work. Again, it can be uncomfortable, but I know it's definitely needed because daily we make mistakes. And so I realized that when we go through this process, we don't need to be perfect. We don't need to have everything all together, but just being willing to try. And if we fail, try again. And there's a lot of areas that can be focused on when it comes to interpersonal and interpersonal connections, relationships, and habits. So auditing those different type of areas as well to figure out what am I doing that may impact others, vice versa, and also impacting myself. And then figuring out what are some things you need to tackle and cancel out. As I addressed earlier, there were different habits, different frameworks of thinking, food, YouTube, wasting time, but also just realizing what are the key things that need to be addressed. And so, yeah, I'm just curious to figure out, please, share in the comments. What are some things that y'all need to leave behind in this past season? Who, what, and where, and why no longer serves you? What did you learn, or what worked well for you in this past season? And then where do you see God in the midst of all of it? So yeah, put in the comments and let me know. I want to make sure we can just trying to communicate more as a community, trying to figure out what are some things you all are working on that I can learn from, and also vice versa to share some knowledge. But once you have all these things down, again, I would just recommend just to write these things down, reflect, pray, take action on things that you can, but also don't feel pressured to take the immediate action. You can do things in tiny, small increments of time. Give me prime example. If you know you need to cut down screen time, cool. 8 o'clock, we're turning off phones. That is it. Laptops, any other form of electronics that is being shut down. So you can do things in those small little increments of time and then build up to more of the bigger and larger things that you want to see happen for your life. And that might be connecting with a coach, a mentor, whoever it may be that's a little bit further along your journey or that's right in the same placement in time and type of frequency that you may be on. So, again, the same thing you want to share, please put in the comments. But appreciate y'all for tuning in. And hopefully, I'll see y'all next Tuesday, God willing. And please share, subscribe, comment, like, do what you got to do. Peace.